Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're getting into a really interesting part of the law.
We're looking at ignominy.
Right. Under the Philippine Revised Penal Code, Article 14, Paragraph 17 specifically.
And our goal, really, is to understand how the law treats not just the crime, but the deliberate act of adding shame, weaponizing it almost.
Yeah, making the victim suffer not just physically, but also from deep dishonor. It's quite something.
It is. The courts talk about adding disgrace and obloquy,
Yeah.
to the actual material injury. It's about the moral dimension.
So it's an extra layer of wrong focused purely on humiliation.
Exactly. And crucially, it has to be deliberate. The offender has to choose methods specifically designed to degrade. That's when the penalty can get, well, heavier.
Okay, so how does this actually play out? Because it seems like it could apply to a lot of different situations, right? Rape, injuries, even murder.
It does. The scope is quite wide.
Hmm.
And figuring out if that line into deliberate humiliation has been crossed, well, that's the tricky part for the courts.
I bet. So how do they make that call? Are there specific tests?
Yeah, generally you can sort of break it down into two main areas they examine. First, the means employed, what the offender actually did.
Okay. The actions themselves.
Right. Active degradation. And second, the circumstances brought about. So the context, the social setting of the humiliation.
Let's start with the means employed. This sounds like when the actions go way beyond what's needed for the crime itself, just to add that psychological pain.
Precisely. It's about looking for acts that serve absolutely no purpose except to humiliate. There are some stark examples in case law.
Like what?
Well, things like after a sexual assault, deliberately defiling the victim's body in a way that wasn't part of the assault itself, like smearing mud on them.
Oh, wow. So completely unnecessary for the crime, just pure degradation.
Exactly. It's that extra step, that flourish of malice intended solely to amplify the shame. The court sees that and says, okay, this is ignominy.
That makes sense. Is looking for that specific intent to add insult to injury, literally. So what about the other category, the circumstances brought about?
That often relates more to the social context. Degrading someone based on their status or vulnerability within a specific situation.
So using the environment or social dynamics to humiliate.
Yes. Think about a historical case where a landowner was forced to kneel down in front of his own servants right before being killed.
Ah, okay. The act of forcing that submission in that specific social context was the ignominy, separate from the killing itself.
Exactly. Or another example, coercing someone, maybe an elderly person, to say remove clothing in public to force a confession. The public nature, the vulnerability, that's the key.
It's about acts that really go above and beyond the inherent unpleasantness or violence of the crime.
Right. The courts are looking for something that clearly exceeds what the base crime involves, focusing purely on attacking the victim's dignity.
This brings up a really important point, though. If it's about experiencing shame, does the victim need to be, well, alive and aware for ignominy to apply?
That's a critical distinction the law makes.
Yeah.
And the answer is yes, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Ignominy targets the moral and psychological suffering. So the victim has to be alive to actually suffer that degradation.
So things done to a body after death wouldn't count, even if they seem designed to dishonor.
Correct. Post-mortem acts, no matter how gruesome, like mutilation after the person is already dead, that's not considered ignominy.
Why not?
Because the person is no longer capable of experiencing the shame or dishonor. The legal harm of ignominy can't occur. It might be another crime or show extreme cruelty, but it's not ignominy.
So just being extremely violent isn't enough either, like firing extra shots into someone already deceased.
Generally, no. Excessive violence alone doesn't automatically equal ignominy, unless, maybe, those specific acts were clearly aimed at the victim's dignity while they were still alive to perceive it.
Got it. So the timing and the victim's ability to experience the humiliation is absolutely central.
It really is.
Okay, so summing this up for everyone listening, the main thing is that the law here is trying to protect more than just physical safety. It's protecting a person's dignity, their moral standing.
Yeah, and that requires courts to really dig into the specific facts of each case. Was there that specific intent to shame? What exactly was done?
It's a careful balancing act.
It is. And, it's interesting how this concept keeps evolving, especially in complex crimes.
How so?
Well, think about a robbery with homicide. Sometimes another crime, like rape, might happen during the robbery. The courts then have to decide, Was the rape just part of the overall violence, or was it also an act of ignominy, adding deliberate shame on top of everything else?
Ah, so layering different legal concepts.
Right. It shows this ongoing challenge for the law, trying to define and punish attacks on human dignity, especially as our society's own understanding of what constitutes shame. While that changes over time, too.
Hmm. What does dignity mean, and how do we best protect it legally? That's definitely something to chew on. A really fascinating deep dive today.